Thank you, Steph, and thank you, Brian. That was great content, good stuff. And now I need Corey to make a flip a switch so that y'all can see my face. There you go. All right. Hey, everyone. Um, so again, thanks, Brian and Stephanie. That was really good stuff. We, started out talking about building systems and processes for your business and then for your health. And now we're going to talk about communication. So before we even get started, what I would love is if everyone can just drop a comment in the chat for the area of communication that you struggle with the most. And if y'all are feeling somewhat, I don't know, embarrassed about whatever that area is, you can send it privately to the panelists. But I just kind of want to get an idea of where everyone's struggle points are with communication. And if you don't have any, then say nothing. Well, write nothing, but I still want to see something in the chat. So what do we got for communication? Where do people struggle? I'll give you a second. Yeah, Matt, I was going to say that. Yes, okay. So we've got one person struggles with shutting up. One person struggles with asking for help. Admitting what you don't know how to do. How to deal with a difference of opinion. That's a good one. Speaking up. Yeah, you know what? I can tell that I really know so far everybody that has responded because none of these are surprising me yet. Sounding too aggressive. Oh, Stephanie, I love that one. You struggle when communication is unclear. Okay, that's good. That's really good. One or two more. What do we got? Somebody drop some in. Responsiveness during offline hours. Ooh, nice. Okay. Give me one more. Give me one more brave soul to type what they struggle with for communication. Speaking up. All right. Yep. All right. So these great answers, you guys. Thank you so much. Always wanting to be right. I know a few people like that. I think I like to call those people bullies. So you know who you are if you're on this call. You know who you are. All right. So sorry. Let's dive in. So last week we spent some time. Sorry, I feel like I'm yelling. Am I yelling? Can somebody tell me if I'm yelling? All right. Last week we spent time talking about building the foundation for your business, right? So your core values, your mission statement, the vision of the business, I almost said vision quest. I don't feel like we covered that, but we did cover the other key pieces, core values, value proposition, mission statement, etc. And once you have established those pieces of your foundation for your business, what you have to do is communicate them, right? So this is where we're going to start off the conversation about communication is, okay, I just so everybody's aware, I need you all to stop in the chat because every time it happens, everything pops up on my screen and it's all I can see and I want to read it. So that's me being a bully right now and bossy. For your foundation of your business, once you've established all those things, then you need to be able to communicate them and you have to communicate them effectively repeatedly, right? Over and over again. It's not enough to just say it once. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an example through the use of story, which is an effective and excellent way to communicate, you guys, because people love stories. So Corey and I,
real quick, Julie, just to interrupt you. If you do have anything to say, you can type it in the Q&A so it doesn't interrupt Julie.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So Corey and I do these things that we call imagination sessions. Now they might be from some of you may be familiar with them. They're fairly new for us, but they're these sessions where we'll sit down and we will either map out some piece of strategy or brainstorm through solutions for a problem that we're having or an opportunity in our business. And we just sort of remove all of the boundaries of like, well, if there were no rules, if there were no boundaries, if there was no limitations to what we could do, how would we solve this problem, right? So And we just come up with lists of stuff, write it all out on the whiteboard, and then we figure out which ones we want to take action on. But we essentially remove all the boundaries. And how we start those sessions is literally by talking about the vision, like where are we going, and making sure that we're both on the same page so that we can then work through what whatever it is that we're trying to solve or whatever we're having the imagination session for. So having that alignment on the vision is super important. And there's only two people in our company, right? It's just me and Corey. And we still have to regularly check in with each other on the vision and the direction that we're going, because there's so many things that are going on in the business. So it's super important that when you are setting the foundation for your business, that you're communicating it. And if you are just a solopreneur, you're the only person, then you need to be communicating that out with your customers, out to potential customers, the prospects, and anybody who's really consuming your content should be in alignment with your vision. So I know, there's one of the attendees here who's also a speaker, has a print shop where they're printing t-shirts, and he's great. He's really, really good, but he's also this super fantastic graphic designer, and does a lot of logo work for people, and he's kind of wants to shift more into the direction of doing more of that design work. And so communicating that and what that new vision is really important, so that people start to take advantage of those services that he's offering, rather than just thinking that he is only printing shirts. And I don't mean only in the regard that it's not that much. I mean that he has more than one service to offer. So you have to do you have to communicate the vision. All of the things that line up with your foundation need to be communicated regularly, especially to employees. If there are multiple people even if there's only one other person in the company, just make sure that that communication is occurring. We're going to do a quick poll right now. I am super curious about this. What's the most important part of communication? Is it talking, listening, pantomime, singing out loud, or yelling?
You did the last one wrong. It's yelling.
Yes, yelling.
All right, that was quick. Everybody agrees listening is the most important part of communication.
So here's where I'm going to laugh really hard. Is Corey and I had a conversation about this earlier this afternoon, actually. And he suggested that talking was the most important part of communication. I actually thought he was kidding. I said, I think you mean listening. And he said, well, no, if nobody's talking, there's nobody to listen to. I don't know the right answer to that. I will tell you, I think it's listening, but on occasion it could be talking. But I think mostly it's ensuring that there is two-way communication. You can't just be talking all the time. You can't just be listening all the time. One of my favorite things to say when I feel like it's not an effect, have you ever been involved in a group text where everybody is only communicating what they're doing in their life and no one is asking about yours? Or in a conversation where that's all people talk about is themselves, and they don't ever stop to say, hey, how's your day? Or what's new with you? That to me is when everyone is on send and no one is on receive, and they are awful experiences for me. I want to leave those conversations as quickly as possible. So knowing that other people need to be heard, need to be seen, it's important to be asking and listening as well as it is to be talking all of the time. But still, I will say, sometimes talking might be the most important form of communication, but I think generally it's listening. So how are you guys doing as communicators? Have you ever sat down and thought about your communication style? Are you effective at speaking? Are you effective at listening? Do you spend more time listening than you do speaking? Do you interrupt people? Do you stop listening because you pick up your phone? All of these things are their communication, right? How you are perceived by the person or people that you're speaking to, how you're perceived by your employees. Are you sitting in a meeting and you're too busy with all of the other things that are all of your these other priorities, and so you don't spend time like really listening to your employees? You don't spend time listening to your customers? Do you pick up your phone every 30 seconds to check if you have a text message? How do you feel when somebody does that to you? If you are involved in a conversation, if you're married, or have a significant other, and that person picks up their phone every 2 minutes to check if they've got a new text message or a new email came in, what does that feel like to you? That's It sucks. And you just need to be aware of those habits that you have as far as communication goes, because sometimes they're so ingrained in us that we don't even realize that we're doing them. So just take some time, maybe, over the next day or two, and really pay attention to how you communicate, pay attention to how you listen, pay attention to how people respond to you when you're talking. Take a look at your body language. And even now, when we do so many things over Zoom, what does your body language say when you're participating in a Zoom session? Are you listening? Are you looking down and it looks like you're on your phone, but really you have, I don't know, you have a rash on your leg and you're scratching it, or you have a scab and you're like scratching that scab off, but nobody can see your leg, so they think you're on your phone. So to be really hard, be aware of what people think when how people are perceiving your communication style or what you're doing when they're talking to you. And then think about how you can improve on it. Giving our attention to people is one of the easiest things that we can do. And it's one of the most important things that we can do for other people, because it really shows that we're listening and we're interested and that we want to know. I can't see anybody but myself right now, but I'm so curious, like how many people are like all in listening, paying attention, versus kind of looking at your phone, texting people, checking in on your sick husband, doing whatever it is that you may be doing. Now,
I'm gonna jump in, Julie,
yeah.
because that are you looking down at your phone or are you scratching at a scab was directed at me, because I spent the better part of a conversation trying to figure out whether or not I had poison ivy on my ankle and why I had poison ivy on my ankle. And Julie called me out on that. I was
Well,
listening. But I was more curious about the potential for poison ivy.
I 100% called him out on it, but I called him out on it in private. And didn't I give you really good advice? Didn't I say to you, if we're having a conversation and you don't feel like you really need to be participating in it, to just say, hey, I'm here. If you need me, say my name. But otherwise, I'm going to be focusing on some other stuff because I don't feel like I'm entirely necessary for this discussion.
Yeah, and that was a great conversation we had, because I was like, I'm more interested in my poison ivy than whatever you're talking about right now.
To be honest with you, I was probably more interested in your poison ivy than what we were talking about at that point. But